Welcome to our Brothers in Conversation podcast powered by Jesse and Shondell. Shondell, you are from?
Bed-Stuy, do-or-die, Brooklyn. That little town.
That's a little town. That's nothing like Hawthorne, Nevada. Population 5,000 cats and dogs. Lawrence, you're looking good, sir. You're looking good.
Thank you, sir. I got a hat on today. As you can see, my social distancing have kept me from my barber.
That's right.
Okay, Thursday, March 19th, 2020, episode 22. This is Brothers in Conversation. I'm Jesse Farrell, and you are?
Shondell Newsome.
Shondell, we got a super special guest today. Our special guest is Lawrence Weekly. Lawrence, say hello if you can real quickly.
What's up, everybody? Good morning.
Now, I'm going to read some stuff. Try not to fall asleep on this because I want to read a little bit about your bio. I could be reading 6 weeks of Lawrence Weekly on this bio. It is very serious. I'm just going to start here. Congratulations. Lawrence Weekly Commissioner is the very first African-American to chair the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. That's big.
That's huge.
That's a big job.
I was there when he got that. I was so pumped. I was there.
So outstanding. What was the heaviest part about that load that you carried on that one, Commissioner?
Well, I think, first it was an honor to even have the public and the private sector to even have that vote of confidence in me. Right. Shondell's absolutely right. He was there in the audience. He saw how it all unfolded. But you know what's interesting about it, Jess, is that although I am the first African-American to serve as chair, I believe that I am the only elected official to have served in every leadership capacity. I came on, I was the secretary, then I was selected as the treasurer, and then I became the vice chairman. Wow. And then I became the president of the board. And then I am one of only 2 people whom have ever served a 4-year term. Oscar Goodman was the only other person that have done that.
Wow. Yeah. Do you mind if I give you a standing ovation on that one right there? Wow. You know what, Lawrence? That's more powerful than anything on this sheet that I haven't even started reading yet.
Listen, please don't read all. Don't read any of that. Listen, let's talk about the good stuff because I appreciate you, brothers, so very much for embracing me and welcoming me in on your brotherhood conversation. You started out the question in reference to what was one of the most heaviest loads, and I can tell you that I thought it would be when we started talking about the expansion of the convention center. Yeah. And it was presented to me as the president of the board. I don't know how we're going to come up with $1.2 billion. You know, we looked at all the shows that we had coming in from ConX, ConA to the Magic Show to the, what's the big one in January? Come on, help me, Shondell. What you call it?
Was it Comdex?
Yeah, yes, that one, the big one. Yeah. We started looking at all of the revenue that we were generating, and we were falling real short. And with the opposition, of course, that we had against us, it was kind of like, well, we're going to have to take this to the legislature. And I thought then, wow, on my watch, there's going to be pie on my face because I don't know if we're going to be able to pull it off. But thank you to our Nevada State Legislature, who saw fit, and the governor at that time. We had Governor Sandoval, who at that time saw fit to help us move this project forward. And so what I then thought would be the heaviest load for me became a blessing. Mm-hmm. We were able to go to the legislature, and they unanimously approved us for that expansion project. And so what you see happening out there right now, Shondell, you truly was a witness to that. Is something that I will always remember and cherish for the rest of my life.
Well, Lawrence, first off, that's an exceptional share. I tell you, the best part about it, I love what you just shared, is you said what you thought was going to be the biggest challenge of your life ultimately came the biggest blessing of your life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's actually a solid metaphor for leadership during these uncertain times. When we're talking about this whole coronavirus thing that's attacking globally, or this in front of us globally, it feels for a lot of people, we'll get into that in a second, but about how people are responding, more importantly, reacting to this. People feel like the world is coming to an end.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, if you go back and if the 3 of us were to go back into our personal and professional lives, and you look at your biggest growth spurts ever that you've ever experienced, likely there was a major challenge just preceding that. Your thoughts?
Jess, you're spot on. But as I travel around my community here in Southern Nevada, and I talk to some of my colleagues up in Northern Nevada, people are just very concerned.
Yes.
And you can call it fear. You can call it panicking. You can call it whatever it is. There are so many people, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. There are so many people that do not trust politics and do not trust government. Let's just be real.
I agree.
And so when you see something like this, and then you start seeing casualties, and then when you start seeing pictures from around the world where you see so many people whom have lost their lives, it really drums up a lot of concern. And so the big thing for me that I'm still trying to figure out is I understand water. And I understand having a supply of things in your home, vegetables and certain things that you be able to eat, non-perishable items. What I'm not understanding is why so much toilet paper?
Right.
I don't get
that either.
I know as we ingest food, it's going to have to come out one way or the other. But it's just that part there that just drives me crazy. And then the part that just really,
Lawrence, what that is, I think what that is I think that's playing in. Unfortunately, as human beings, we can start this monkey see, monkey do campaign.
Yeah.
And so that became someone's biggest concern, and that got perpetuated out there, and it's run off the charts. There are many things we can do for the lack of toilet paper, like towels that you can also wash and so forth. So there's so much more that we can do. But I think the biggest thing, Shondell and Lawrence, is this. I think the biggest thing is the unknown. When people are in a situation where people like knowing. In fact, it even goes to our habits. Our habits, even when we have bad habits, we keep them because we know what they are. Oftentimes we know what we need to do to improve our conditions, whether it's health or safety or relationships or job or whatever. Sometimes we stay frozen and stuck in our habits because that's what we know.
And I'll tell you what,
right?
Yeah, because when you talk about leadership in uncertain times, I've watched over the years, and even from early on with the city council, I've watched Weekly be in some very uncomfortable positions, but he and on an island by himself. So again, it goes back to that, that quote that I love the most by Dr. King is the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. And what happens with a person like Weekly is if you're, and we got a lot of similarities in that way, is that there's so much challenge and controversy that it becomes what people think is easy for us to deal with, but it's not so easy. And if you ask our wives probably sit back and say, boy, those guys get on my nerves with some of the stuff that happens. And I want to share something with you because I kept something that Weekly's going to be surprised by. And I waited for this show. And this is something that I was so proud of. This is a leadership moment that I loved with Commissioner Weekly. I'm going to let him talk about it because to allow himself to become vulnerable and talk about his personal life showed more leadership than anything with the LVCVA, with anything else. I was so impressed with this dude. I didn't care what he did. I didn't care what happened. I was Team Weekly.
And where was that spoken at? This piece that he was speaking to?
I believe this was at the Culinary Academy. I think this particular, where he was talking about him being adopted and he went through, I mean, it was just amazing. And then last year, like going through the thing with his brother passing away and then Tyrone passing. And people don't realize that we still have lives. Even though you sit as a public figure in this big seat, you still have a life as a person. And he opened up as a person, which I think was the biggest leadership move. I'm forever impressed with this guy.
Let me hear your thoughts on that, Lawrence. I'd love to hear what you have to say about what Shondell said.
I appreciate you saying that, Shondell. It means a lot to me. 2018 started out 2018 was a very rough year for me. It was, but I just give all glory to God and thank God so very much for helping me survive and get through it. It wasn't easy. I crumbled. I'm not going to lie. I crumbled starting in 2018, but Jess and Shondell will tell you that this type of job that this community have afforded me to have, it doesn't allow you to 100% crumble. You still have to put that face on. And
Absolutely.
you still have to go out there and you still have to do the job through all of your pain and through everything that you're suffering through. You have to suffer through it. And that's really unfortunate because, you know, people expect you to still stand up and be strong and still in the face of the storm. You still have to be able to, as they say, push through. And so for me, you know, me talking about my upbringing, Jess, I mean, we could sit here and we could talk about, you know a bit about my upbringing.
I can't wait to talk about it. I won't go too deep with your permission at the right time. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was really a surprise to a lot of folks. I have been carrying that burden on me since I was a little boy, finding out that I was adopted, but I was so afraid.
You didn't find out as a little boy, though, did you?
I found out at about the age of 10.
Okay. Yeah. And let me just say something else that you said. You talked about crumbling and so forth. You said something that's really powerful, and I'm going to paraphrase this. You both have probably heard it. You and Shondell and people like us are not afforded the privilege of being average.
No.
You are not afforded the privilege of being average. You have got to shine and power through even when you're brought to your knees. What was the number one thing, if you can share, if not at another time, that you said you crumbled in 2018? What brought you to your knees?
Well, what really hurt me was that when I went through a situation with the LVCVA, that really hurt me so bad because it had always been my prayer to God that I could serve in office and do the best I can. I came into office not having anything. I came into office with student loans, with all kind of, I didn't have anything. Actually, my spouse's credit was way better than my credit. I had no credit.
Right.
And you both who are businessmen will tell all of our folks out here, especially our young, naive individuals, citizens out here who don't know better, like I was in that position. Having no credit is worse than having bad credit.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And so, I really started out on a really, it was kind of an ignorant side of the road for me because I just was not in that environment where I was taught to learn how to establish credit or anything like that. And so, when I went through that period with the LVCVA, I felt like I had let my whole community down. I felt like I had let so many people down, and it was so me trying to get out and explain to people. Someone came to me and said, "Lawrence, don't do it because you look defensive. You look like you're admitting to guilt." And I says, "Well, I don't understand. How do I tell my side of the story? Because God knows I had no idea." Everybody around me, and even they reported that, no, he really didn't know. But I got drugged through the mud because I actually spoke up on behalf of a gentleman that I was still in my heart believe is a stand-up guy. I think had it not been for him when Nevada went through when we went through that big recession, what was it, Shondell? 06, 08?
08, yeah.
Yeah, this guy just really, really, really took Las Vegas particularly to a whole nother level. And me serving as his president of his board, I saw another side of him and I stood up for him. And as a result of that, I suffered the consequences of that. My credibility was questioned, drugged through the mud. That hurt me really, really bad because here I am, having been in office now going on 20 years. My goal was I wanted to do it right. I wanted to have one of those political careers that when I leave, my legacy would be, well, hell, he didn't change the world and he didn't do everything I thought he could have done, but he did his very best and he stood up for things that he thought was right for not just himself, but for the greater good of Nevada, being a native. And that just kind of crushed me, man.
So you're saying, there was the whole push on your credibility when you were doing the best that you could on authenticity and integrity, and you were being challenged you didn't get it because you're giving them integrity, you're giving them authenticity, you're working hard, you're working smart, and you were still being rolled under the bus. That was the thing that bothered you.
Just, for me, I signed up for the job, and at one time, I was serving as chairman of the board of six boards at one time for 4 years.
Wow.
I don't know any other elected official who can, and I challenge them right now. I don't know any other elected official who can 100% say they chaired six boards at one time for
crazy.
4 years. Yeah. I did that, and people said, "You're crazy as hell. You don't have any money." I said, "Well, I've never been rich anyway. I came into the world an indigent child."
Right.
So all my needs and my wants, I believe, will come from who I believe at the end of the day have all the answers.
Right.
So
Wow.
that's kind of how I live. That was my philosophy. That's how I live my life, and that's kind of how I went about in this position that I'm in.
That's powerful. That's very powerful, Lawrence.
Yeah,
I'll get Shondell to weigh in on this, but I'll say this: as I listen to you and I hear this, which I wasn't even aware of, so it's some heavy stuff. That's very heavy. I do know how you came into this world because, like you said, we got started together in Reno, Nevada, and our parents were best friends. Their whole lives, our parents were best friends.
Right.
And we spent a lot of time in those early years in Reno, Nevada, down there near Glen Duncan. I know.
Hawthorne.
And Hawthorne, right.
Hawthorne.
Yeah.
let me tell you something, Jess, and Lisa. Thank you so very much for sharing your husband with this community, because I too know his upbringing, and as children, what you all are experiencing now with Jess, he was like this as a kid. He really was. He was an organizer when we were kids and we were trying to figure out what we're going to do for the day. He always organized activities. And the interesting part about it is he's not even the oldest.
I know. Wait a minute, smarty pants. I'm not going to go too deep on this, but Lawrence Weekly is on it. Lawrence, we do this thing in our family called Farrell-Olympics. We took the last name Farrell, the word Olympics. We smushed it together. It's a new word called Farrell-Olympics. Well, 2 years ago, Farrell-Olympics was in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And sitting on the couch, all the brothers and sisters, some from New York, from some Blanding, Utah, from Las Vegas, from Reno, from Hawthorne. We were all in one room. And my big brother, Al, to your point, was sitting on the couch. It chilled my bones. It would chill my bones. Because my brother was a super athlete, as you remember.
Yeah.
Okay, and he was exceptional. And in Hawthorne, Nevada, you had two choices for activities: drugs or athletics. That's it. We didn't have everything.
Wow.
So I chose athletics, but I always made the team, but I didn't always make it as quickly as he did, and I didn't start as much as he did. And so I was trying to be like him. And my brother sat in this Farrell-Olympics room, about 18 of us in this room. And he says, my brother Jesse will tell you how he tried to be like me growing up. He goes, it's not true. He said, Lawrence, he says it's not true. He says, I was trying to be like him because he said everything that I did, Jesse did first.
Yeah.
But I didn't think of it that way because he was such a sports phenom that he was so powerful as an athlete that I really was trying to be at his level. But he said, I played baseball first. I set pins at the bowling alley first. Then he followed me. I never saw it that way. So to your point, how in the heck do you actually even remember that, Lawrence?
I remember a lot of it because Shondell, and to our viewing audience here, let me explain something to you. Lisa, let me just tell you just what Jess and his family did for my family. And I probably need to grab. Here I go now. I probably need to grab some Kleenex on this part.
Well, I'm already crying over here. And you know what you do before you go there? My mother-in-law in Salt Lake City, Midge Porter, she's crying like a baby right now. She doesn't know what you're gonna say, but she knows you're gonna bring it. So bring it.
So when my mother, God rest her soul, the mother that I knew, who adopted me. My parents, when they came they were living in Northern Nevada in Reno, and they wanted a kid. Mm-hmm. And my mother couldn't have any more children. Now, you remember just after she had Joanne, we called her JoJo. That's one of my older sisters. She couldn't have any more kids. And so they came to Southern Nevada and they adopted a kid, which was me. Ooh. They took me out of foster care at 11 months old. And they moved us back to Reno. So I lived up in Reno all the way up until I was 5 years old. Wow. And then we moved back down to Southern Nevada. And while we were there, my father, who was the socialite like he was, had a lot of women fans out there.
Yes, he did.
And it became a bit overbearing for my mother. And she, during the course of that time, she went through lots of domestic violence with him. And it got so bad to the point where one day she just said, enough is enough. And she packed up a U-Haul truck and we drove all the way to Hawthorne, Nevada. And that's where, we had to start a life all over again. And Jess's mama, I call her my Aunt Willie Mae. She just, man, she loved on us, and she was, man, it was just a time where
you were part of our family. You were part of our family.
Yeah, she took a broken woman who had gave up everything, and had to move her kids there, and it was tough because she didn't have anything, and it was my Aunt Willie Mae, who is Jess's mom, who helped rebuild her confidence.
Wow.
And say, you can do it. There wasn't much there in Hawthorne as far as employment opportunities. And so my Aunt Willie Mae helped my mom get her stuff back together and got her back down here to Las Vegas.
Wow.
And that's where, things began. And it was really challenging. And Jess's home, with my Aunt Willie Mae's house, there wasn't a lot of space because it was his mother, and their dad, and my Uncle Jesse, and Al, and Jess, and Pam, and their siblings. It was all of them, and we were all crowded in their house. But it was weird, but somehow they made it work.
Lawrence, you have got my sister Pam Farrell crying like a baby on the other end because we remember you guys. We saw you guys. We didn't see you guys as friends. We saw you as family. We treated you like, I saw you as a little brother. Lawrence Weekley that guy. That kid was a rascal. He had tons of energy. He always had a smile on his face. He was always poking and pricking and just testing. And he kept us all active all the time. And so when what Lawrence is telling you of the story, we always had someone in our home that didn't look like us,
right?
Didn't behave like us, that wasn't like us, but was part of us.
Well, and it makes a lot of sense of why, when I heard the stories from Weekley then, I was just like, wow. And so it gave me an insight as to why he does a lot of things that he
right.
would do. And he would take in people,
He's a giver.
Family.
Yes.
And here's the challenge for us. And you know what? You got to do that color thing on him because he has to be color coded. That's going to be awesome.
The color code personality assessment is what he's talking about, Lawrence. We specialize in that because we're certified trained at the Color Code Company. We use that as far as our coaching, our speaking. So to Shondel's point, once we finish with this, we're going to color code you, sir. We want to get to the bottom of this.
And the reason is because there's so many things when you learn about a person and you learn about what they've been through and what they've come through, you start to appreciate them a lot more. You start to feel when you see them making decisions, you say, I know why he's making that decision. So what I did is I said, okay, how can I help him and assist him in the lane that I play well in, right? Because we all grew up different. We all grew up in a different way. Had some challenges along the way, right? But how do you come together, especially us, right, brothers? At the end of the day, Black men don't have a great reputation of getting along or loving each other or loving on each other. We have to figure out that.
Well, then why are we all crying on this line right now if we don't love each other? We don't have that reputation.
But I think we need more of that. We need more. I
agree.
That's why brothers in conversations, you and I always had these kind of conversations going on years.
And that's what Lisa recognized.
Hey, bring these guys. You guys got to do this in a forum where everybody else hears this. And then we bring in people like Lawrence, who actually is he wears his emotions on his sleeve, and he doesn't have a poker face. I'm just gonna tell you that. I always laugh, and he sees me out, and whether it's at the LVCVA or the county meetings, I could see what he's thinking. And I just text him and go, I know what you're thinking. Right. He doesn't have a poker face.
And I make no secrets or bones about it, because there are times when I'm saying, this chick next to me, or these dudes on the other side of me, or those dudes a little down the way, sleep.
Right. Yeah.
Period.
Oh, you got to see his expressions, man. I wish I would have took a camera and took all of his expressions at all these meetings and then kind of frame them, put it there. It would blow your mind. It would make you just Yeah, it's just amazing.
Well, I really appreciate the storytelling. That's compelling. Thank you, Shondell, for backing that up. And Lawrence, that's a very powerful story that a lot of people don't know. And I think that story in itself is representative of leadership during these challenging and tumultuous times, because you told the story of your early upbringing, of your mother who made a very difficult decision. That's a difficult decision today, but imagine what it was like for women, and especially Black women back in the day, for his mother to have the strength and faith to make a decision to go drive 330 miles north on hope that her friend Willie Mae Farrell and Jesse Farrell, her friends, would allow her and her children in to get a restart in life. Yeah. Sometimes it's these restarts is about going after it again, not starting all over again, but starting again. So Lawrence, for you sharing that vulnerability, like Shondell has just mentioned that you have, I believe that's 100% powerful. And let's talk about what can the people listening or watching this, what can they take from that story that you shared and borrow that strength to pull us through these times right now? Lawrence, what are your thoughts about that story and how we can use that?
Yeah, well, my thoughts is that, people have to understand through whatever adversity that you're going through, that it's possible. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable and when you allow yourself to open up and allow people to help you. I know that there are a lot of folks out there that prey on weak folks and they take advantage of situations. But then there are loving people like Willie Mae Farrell, who she opened up her heart and she saved a woman and her children from just drowning in despair. Wow. And so I say that it's so important that, especially in a time like this, when we're going to grocery stores and we're stockpiling, you know, if you're going to stockpile, I know that it's many of us out here that know a senior, or we know a mother at home with 4, 5, 6 kids. Kim and I, my wife and I, went over to Smith's because the hours are from 7 to 8, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for seniors. Mm-hmm. If I tell you that line was wrapped around, and we went to 4 different stores, wrapped around the building, and if you could see senior citizens that were 60, 70, I guarantee you 80 years old, standing there on walkers, trying to make it happen because they had no one to do it for them.
Right.
What are we doing? What are we doing? And so I say, regardless of whether you agree with what Governor Sisolak is saying or whether you agree with what Mayor Carolyn Goodman is saying, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we have some very afraid people out here. Yep. We have some very vulnerable people out here. And we have a population of people. My seniors right now over at MLK and Doolittle and Walnut Recreation Center, you got a lot of people who are sick and shut in. It's okay if you reach out to one of us, Jess, Shondell, myself, any one of your community leaders, and say, hey, listen, I have a 4-pack of toilet paper. Right. I have a case of water. I have some non-perishable items that you guys can get and take it to someone that really needs. That's how we're going to get through this thing, regardless of partisan politics, regardless of who's struggling to be in leadership. I think what the governor is asking us to do, people, let's be safe.
Yeah.
Whatever this is that's out here, let's be safe. And at the end of the day, you got people like Shondell Newsom, who's in communications with folks back in Washington, D.C., trying to figure out what can we do to help our small businesses so that they don't have to close their doors. Because I, too, believe, like Shondell and you, Jess, small businesses is what makes the world go round.
Oh, 100%. Well said.
Well, I thank you both for your leadership. And it's a forum like this. I hope that brothers will see this broadcast that we have going on right now. We'll use this as an example. And being that we are all social distancing right now, we can all hop online. If somebody old like me can learn how to Zoom, then surely you can Zoom, baby. Put your Lionel Richie Zoom on away, and everybody, let's Zoom. You get a Zoom. You get a Zoom. You get a Zoom.
Would you like to fly away? Now, Lawrence, this is amazing because the last time I got to sit in front of you, I listened with an executive at the Rio Hotel Casino. That was in 2001. So here we are, 2020. And you know why we're sitting here across from one another, even though it's not physically in the same room, but we're all visual. We can visually see one another because it's important. Because to your point, life is not about what happens to you. Life is about what you do about what happens and how you serve others. We are all in this together. We are all in this as one common people. We are. So what can we do? Like this broadcast, we're doing this because we want the power of the three of us to send waves out there into the universe. This is energy happening. Energy is going out into the universe, putting some positive dose out there right now. And that's what this is all about, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And the energy is just fantastic. And, you know, when I first saw you all's first broadcast, I went to Shondell. I called him up on the phone. I said, how do you know him? and he was like, man, that's my boy. We're like brothers. And I was like, dude, I have history with that dude and his family. And it was amazing because Jess, you know, I had seen you some years back. And at that time you were like, you know, of course you're still a big wig, but you know, one of the big guys over in the hotel industry, right? And then when I started going through I started to reach out to you. I remember, I think I saw you on social media first.
Okay.
And I said, well, I'm gonna reach out to him. And then all of a sudden, all hell started breaking loose for me with that controversy I spoke about. And then I thought, maybe I shouldn't. I don't want to embarrass him or let folks know we're kind of like family. So I backed off. But Shondell is so cool at also helping to connect dots and bringing people together. And that's what it's about. And so it was just a matter of time before I would be a special guest on Brothers Conversation.
And you are a special guest, and it's so important. Oh, yeah. And you know what?
And a brother.
Exactly.
Hey, a real brother.
Actually, right? Up to 100%. And Shondell, as all of us, both Lawrence, you and myself, we all owe this to Lisa because this is Lisa's vision coming to life. She saw the magic between the two of us.
Yay, Lisa.
Yeah. In fact, like you talk about this program helping others, it will. Lisa came up with another idea that's along the lines of what we're doing here. And we have this program that another version of conversation. We created, let me let that go. We created, I'm not sure.
It's not sorry.
Nope, not over here.
My bad.
I mean.
No worries. So we created what we call virtual conversations, and we're going to have our very first virtual conversation tonight at 5 p.m. with one single purpose. Bring people together, converging different dynamics of eclectic people to have a single empowered conversation with zero agenda. There's no agenda. And so the first one's happening. We limited it to 10 so that people can have a voice in there. And depending on how this goes, we'll keep doing this. We're doing this as added value. We're not charging people for our services on the coaching side of what will happen on these calls. And this was Lisa's idea and thought, let's do a virtual form of conversation. So an eclectic group of people can have a conversation. It won't be advertised. This one's going to be private to start with so people can really feel free. At some point, we may, turn it into something where people can see it later.
I think that's a great idea, Jess. I think, like as we're practicing the social distancing, there'll be some innovation that comes out of it. But I also want to tell you who are some of our friends because we're gonna tell you who has been listening.
Okay, let's do that, Shondell, and then we'll do Lisa after yours.
Yeah, how about Simone Davis? Simone from The View, where my wife grew up, right?
Nice.
Love Simone.
Ryan Harris, DJ Certified, Tanisha from the morning Wake Up Squad, right? And then Thomas Liz Anderson, April Brown, Ken Kennard, April Washington. I know April with the tea cakes. Sparkle from Official Black Las Vegas, Rochelle, Erica Washington, Raven from Some New, my girl.
Okay.
And let's see, Laura Martin, Ramon Savoy.
Playing.
Yeah, C.H. Miller running for Assembly, right? Let's see. Chastity Carroll. Wow, this one is I for Like Arakimi. Oh, I think I got that one. Angela Gardner, Helen Williams, Joe Cato, Sandra Harris, William Petaway, Valerie Lucas, Kenyatta Neil Johnson. Wow, we got a lot of them. Erica Nicole, Sean Lindsay, Regina Anderson, Trina Giles, China Hudson, Devin Moore, Jimmy Yerger and Miles Hempel, Jacqueline Brown, and many more. I got plenty of them. Go ahead.
Well, listen, I tell you what, you mentioned some names, which is some fantastic people. China Hudson, you need to be on Zoom. Just do us an African drum call or something. Devin Moore need to go get us a comedian on Zoom. Listen, we're in this. What day are we in? Day 3? Is this day 3 of 30 days?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's day 2 or 3.
And listen, I have watched more movies and taken more naps than I have ever in my entire life. And I'm driving Kim crazy. I can only imagine. And this my new thing, Jess, is I'm on these. I'm gonna get the box, but it's these natural lime flavored popsicles.
Okay.
So I'm watching movies, eating trail mix, and eating naturally lime flavored popsicles. So somebody needs to get back on Zoom and entertain me. I need some other entertainment.
No, we appreciate that, but and let's talk about that on the flip side. Lisa's going to tell us who's on here. I want to talk about where Lawrence left off about what we can do during these times. That, like Lawrence is saying, he's doing things that he wouldn't typically be doing, but now he's doing them. So that's good. Lisa, you want to share some of the folks?
We've got Ken Evans.
Ken Evans.
Donna Davis. Pat McClellan.
Can you guys hear Lisa?
Yep.
Okay, yes. Let's speak up so they can hear you.
Pam Farrell, Emilio, our new friend Acevedo.
Okay, Acevedo.
Kenneth Kennard, Sean Murray, Chris Angelo, Tammy Morgan, Marianne Johnson. Wow. Melissa Danielson, Patty DiDominic, Trina Giles, Tiffany Palumbo, Jennifer Tarno.
Jennifer Tarno, wow.
Linda Nordgren, Terry Pastorius, Artie, I'm sorry about the last name there, Carrie Ann Buck, Carmen Geiger, Megan French, David Jones. I can go on and on and on.
She can go on and on and on and on. There's a lot of people watching. I don't think it's just because they don't have anything else to do, Shondell. I think people are watching and listening. Why? You tell me your perspective. I'll give you mine, and I'll get Lawrence.
Well, I think the main reason is because, number one, people have to understand, like, they want to know what leadership is, and leadership is not necessarily what people portray all the time, right? Leadership is not this hard, rough person who use profanity and yell at everybody and do that. I think leadership is a person that can be real. And I always talk about relationships, and I talk, we and Lawrence and I, we've had agreements and disagreements, but guess what? We come back to the table and we say, okay, let's try to understand each other for the better good of all the people that are in Southern Nevada. I've been in Southern Nevada for 33 years, and there've been only a few people that I've really admired, and Weekly has been one of them because of his authenticity and how he brings it real. We don't always have to agree on everything. We don't have to agree on everything in that context, because we will, I have disagreements with my wife, and that's the person who is closest to me in the world. So we should have disagreements. We should always, we're not going to always see eye to eye, but the one thing we can do is always focus on a common goal. And I think people that see us out there, sometimes they feel as if we're supposed to have this badge or this shield of being invincible. But we are vulnerable. We are men. We are Black men, but we have some deep, hard feelings and things that happen that impact us in life. And I shared before about being abused as a young teenager, being physically abused as a young teenager, or sexually abused as a young teenager, and what spiraled me into becoming a teenage parent. So those things, I think people have to know about us so that they can see that we are real people, but God has put us in extraordinary places. And I think I owe it to God to make sure that I live up to that. And I know Weekly feels the same way.
No, I appreciate that, Shondell. Thank you for that. Lawrence, you tell me. I'll go last on this one. There are a lot of people watching this, and there are a lot of people that will watch it beyond this. In fact, quite quite frankly, the people that are watching this, please be willing to share this with people that you think can gain value from this. But Lawrence, tell us why you believe that the volume is so strong that so many people are watching this program right now.
Well, I think it's just a matter of us expanding our knowledge, looking for things and doing things that we typically don't do. How many of us through the course of the day have an opportunity to sit in and participate or listen to a broadcast or a podcast? We just don't. We're extremely busy. We have a lot of things going on in our lives. And so this is so educational. And then the thing is, the takeaways from this conversation, we're saying some things that people are going to say, wow, I've experienced that in my life. And wow, I thought I was on this journey by myself.
That's right.
That's why when I spoke about my situation being adopted publicly, for years I was embarrassed.
Right.
I was ashamed. I didn't want people to drag me through the mud about it. So I never talked about it until I had to talk about it. And when I started talking about it, I started getting, and then I did a podcast on it. Chandel knows about that. I did a podcast on it. And I actually, this podcast was actually heard in 4 different countries.
Wow.
And I started getting responses back from all around the world from people saying to me, thank you. Thank you so much for using your platform. And so now for me to be able to say to young people, and I hear from them so often now, thank you so very much, because now I feel like there's hope. And then to be able to go out and work with Tom Riley and the university system to be able to have had some legislation passed that will allow young people that are aging out of the foster care system, if they want to seek higher education, they can do so right here in the state of Nevada at no cost.
Nice.
And so it's things like that I've been able to use my platform to help get things going. And so this is so beneficial, Jess. You and your beautiful wife, Lisa, and my brother here, Chandel. Thank y'all for this vision, man. This is absolutely awesome. I'm having a good time with this, man. And I hope I hope that everybody start having Zoom meetings today.
we want that. We want that, Lawrence. We really do. And you're right. Everything you said and what Chandel said too, I will sum up and say that I agree with both of you quite a bit. And it's the number of people that you are helping, you may never know what that real volume is. But here's the thing. Here's what we will know. One of the key reasons why this works, why this is attractive, and why this can be shared and served with people is because there's a thing called sympathetic resonance. And sympathetic resonance is we are vibrations of one another. When you vibrate and emit an energy, I feel that. Even though I'm not in the same space that you are, I can feel that. And the same thing with Chandel. Scientists did this experiment where they set up two tuning forks. Yeah. And they set up a ping pong ball next to the tuning fork that was not going to be struck. They struck the tuning fork over here, and that vibration sent a vibration to the tuning fork over here, and the ping pong ball started swinging off the chain, even though that wasn't the one that got struck.
Wow.
Because it could feel that energy coming from the other tuning fork. We are like for like creatures.
Yep.
So what we're doing here, team, is we're emitting and putting out a positive vibration out into the universe that even if we only change or affect or improve one life listening to this, people are living in fear. They're living in despair. They're living in discomfort. A lot of people's jobs are on hold for a moment. A lot of businesses have been on hold for a moment. I mean, the Las Vegas Strip is dark. When was the last time you saw that? So this is a global thing. This is a people thing. It's not just about black men or brothers or black people. This is about people too. Everyone is going to have some sort of an effect from this. So it is our responsibility to help bridge that gap and bring them back to a healthy place from a leadership perspective.
Yep. Hey, Jess, one of the things that you're going to have to do.
Yes.
And now that I got his brother here, you're going to have to get Weekly to write a book, and he's got to go on a speaking tour. We're going to get him there.
Not only will I encourage what you just said, I will help my baby brother do this because I know I have documented the concept.
You have. That's why it all came together like this. I mean, you can hear that he has a lot to share, and he has an amazing, not just an amazing story, but how it came full circle to where he was able to help people who was in the same situation. That is a story that is people are waiting to see and people are waiting to hear.
Be a fascinating story. What do you think about that one, Lawrence Weekly?
Hey, man, Shondell's been talking to me about it for a number of years. And, I've been just kind of like staying in my lane. I figured, let me try and focus on the job that I have right now. But you both are just spot on. I have a story to tell.
Of course.
I really have a story to tell. And I remember a couple of my friends and I, one of my fraternity brothers, we took our stories out on the road and we went to Denver, Colorado. And we did a thing over in the theater there, and Mayor Wellington Webb was there. And we shared our stories, man, and the audience was just blown absolutely away. And we never got a chance to kind of continue our journey on that. But I'm so open for that. But what I'm sitting here kind of chuckling about is, and your sister Pam is on. She's watching us right now.
Right.
Pam, if you remember, Jess used to talk like this when we were kids.
I can only imagine. I just got to see it.
Jess, let me tell you something. Jess, you keep asking me, how do I remember all this? It's weird how I remember my childhood, because it went from trauma. It went from trauma. A lady who was so upset. She was in a physical fight. I mean, physical. She and my father's side chick were in a physical fight.
Right.
To where the police were called. And guns were involved.
Wow.
Can you imagine, as kids, we were traumatized.
Yes.
And we all piled in a U-Haul truck. And for almost 350 miles headed to Hawthorne. And we pulled up in front of Jess's house. Wow. And it's trauma. So just think about those babies.
Yes.
Who are being snatched from their homes, and they're being taken down on Bonanza and Pecos to Chow Haven, and they're traumatized.
Right.
That's where I was. But fortunately, my siblings and I, we didn't get dropped off at Chow Haven. We had a haven, and that was Willie Mae Farrell's haven.
Wow.
But Pam will tell you, Jess used to talk like this when he was a kid. And what I remember is growing up, because Pam is kind of like, she was a little mean when we were growing up. She used to beat me up all the time when we were kids. She was my first encounter of being bullied. She bullied me. But I was like her. She was my protector. She never let anybody else bother me. She always had my back.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, your mother used to call on you for everything. Yeah. Because she recognized.
Yes, she did.
As a kid, your leadership skills.
Wow.
I don't even, this is, I hope people, I know this is a personal story, but I hope people are taking magic from this, because what Lawrence Weekly said, that when I was 13 years old, my mother and father called me into the bedroom and they said, we just want to let you know that we're getting divorced and we want you to go tell the other kids.
Yeah. Wow. And you weren't the oldest.
No.
So
I don't know how Lawrence remembers what to the detail that he is, because I never told him the story. I never told anybody the story I just told you right now. But my mother and father, mother more than father, would call upon me for really adult type of things. In fact, the number one thing my mother would chastise me for, she would beat me. I'm going to go Southern on you. No, I can't go full Southern because I have to use Christmas.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Right. She would say, she'd say, boy, your butt ain't big enough to hold water. You better get out of here before I knock it off. You can't get out of these adult conversations. Like, I started the conversation.
You know what? I'm laughing so hard because I can't. You remember the movie Little Man? You see this little guy with a big old head.
Yeah.
Just now in these conversations.
But Shondell, the number one thing I got in trouble was for being in adult conversations.
Oh,
a lot of times I started before she came in.
He created ear hustling.
I can only imagine.
Let's do this. What can we do, team? What can we share with people about through these challenging times? What can they be doing as we work through building solutions for this matter? What can people do, John?
You can do just what you just said. You used the T word, team.
Yes.
And if we all formed some teams,
yes,
and got on Zoom or got on FaceTime or got on Go Live and form some teams and say, what can we do? Because there's a neighborhood in Berkeley Square. And I'll tell you something. There's a group of guys that called me the other day, and you guys are getting ready to hear about it this weekend. So they says, well, we have a restaurant that have agreed. They'll cook up all the food. And I got in contact with the executives over at the Southern Nevada Health District and said, how legal is this and how healthy is this?
Right.
Listen, as long as it's cooked in the restaurant and it's packaged in the restaurant,
nice,
you can distribute with gloves.
Nice.
So as long as there's not a group of over 10 people, we're saying nothing over 5 people, right, that still will operate in a 6-foot distance, while the school district, and thank you to my Board of County Commissioners along with the school district and 3 Square executives have gotten together because Senator Dina Neal and a number of us, we were very concerned when they first put out the areas that they were going to do food distributions for these kids, K through 12. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, something is definitely wrong with this picture here. How the hell are kids in my district going to get all the way over here to this school? They have no transportation to get over there. Right. So fortunately, 3 Square and Superintendent Jara said, you know what? You guys are absolutely right. They've added on additional spaces to where they're going to distribute food. So what's going to happen? Another thought came to our mind, Jess and Shondell, was, okay, the school district distributes food Monday through Friday. Mm-hmm. What happens on the weekend?
Right.
So this team came together and said, we'll cook up food in the restaurant. We will package it up in those to-go cartons and then wrap it in cellophane. And then we will have certain volunteers that will go to certain neighborhoods, whether it be Berkeley Square, Marble Manor, Sherman Gardens, Regal Estates, you name it, some of these neighborhoods throughout our communities, and they will distribute food to folks. That's a start.
That's nice.
What we can do is form some teams, and let's figure out what can we do in this trying time to be there for each other and help each other.
Well said. That's nice. Awesome.
That's great.
Well said. That's awesome.
You know, and I'm gonna tell you, Jess, even before things got, crazy, I was at the county doing the census kickoff, and I remember Weekly's like, "Hey, I see you outside my window. Come up to my office." He couldn't miss me. I had my orange suit on, right? He couldn't miss me at all. So me and Tiara went up and sat down, and he did say, "Hey, let's get ahead of this. Let's see what we can do." So he always has this insight of, hey, let's get together, let's come together, let's put together these teams. And I'll tell you, he put together a team a few years ago to deal with African American unemployment, and that team, continues to talk even to this day. Like the Weekly always has this way of gathering people together and making them look at those who are less fortunate, those who don't necessarily have the same resources that we have. So kudos. It's a natural for him to do that.
I think that's awesome, man. You do a lot of that yourself too, Shondell. So let's just say between the two of you.
He does. Yeah. He does all the time. He's trying to put me out there like that. But thank you though for acknowledging the Black think tank as far as that unemployment piece. And when I came to you, you were one of the first persons I shared the vision with, and our beloved Tyrone Thompson and future Senator Dina Neal took it and they ran with it, and it's still thriving today. So, but thank you, because you said, hey, I think it's a great idea. And at that time we had Ardell with us, Ardell Galbraith with Workforce Connections, and he helped us pull that thing together. And lo and behold, Ardell and Tyrone Thompson are somewhere making life happen and making life better for somebody else. So,
and that's what it's about too, Lawrence, making life happen for others as well. I think that's exactly where we're at. And this is an incredible program, and I do hope that it is far reaching. I say this will not be your last special guest visit here.
Thank you.
Whether we zoom it up again, or I'm looking forward for us to be live in the same room at the same time, and we'll make that happen as well. We'd like for you to be able to come back multiple times, because we have a wonderful voice. You've got just an extensive background of experience. And you know what? I believe that's what helps people. When people know that you've lived it and you felt it and you're sharing it, right? You show that vulnerability along with that intelligence. Come on, it doesn't get any better than that. So we're definitely going to have you back. Shondell, we're going to close this program how you and I always close programs. And you may have heard this a time or two, Lawrence, but here it says, we says that life really hits the pinnacle of the best success that you can have. And it's one thing that helps that happen. What is that, Shondell? It's all about
how you leave
them feeling. So thank you, you two gentlemen. Have a great rest of the day, and we will be in touch, and we'll get this link out to both of you. And share.
Thanks, Lawrence. We appreciate you, bro.
Love you both. Thank you so much.
Love.
Take
care now.
All right. Take care.
Bye now.